There's considerable evidence suggesting that the traditional nuclear family involved being isolated from the rest of the community, with mothers being solely responsible for the childcare or housework and fathers being solely responsible for provision. The assumption that mothers are responsible for child-rearing and they should be sacrificing themselves to invest in the same may put unnecessary pressure on women to behave in ways compatible with the novel idea of motherhood. The fact that mothers spend at least 8 hours a day with children alone without social support is detrimental to a species that is used to cooperative engagement in parenting situations. Social isolation and motherhood expectations could prompt issues with maternal guilt, increased rates of postnatal depression, and decreased breastfeeding, among other negative outcomes. Some sources suggest that assumptions surrounding the negative outcomes of marital breakdown often idealize the nuclear family as the best way to raise children, with adverse child outcomes being blamed on the lack of a nuclear family. These assumptions have led to government interventions pushing for marriage as opposed to cohabitation, with the interventions focusing on disadvantaged groups that report reduced marriage rates. The interventions have drawn a lot of criticism that emphasize the need to solve the underlying economic conditions as opposed to advocating for marriage. Public maternal and infant health initiatives in societies that embrace the nuclear family as the default family structure often exclude other people involved in childcare, including fathers and grandmothers. Older women, especially grandmothers, often have massive influence on maternal decisions, and as such, it is important that they're directly involved in parenting, including being given social support. Perceptions around the family and traditional gender roles often feed into socio-political ideologies that promote male dominance and disposal. The cooperative nature of the human species suggests that isolation doesn't serve our evolutionary functions. The male breadwinner norm, which is also, and even more so, embraced by women, promotes ideals of male independence and isolation from others as it places the provision burden entirely on men, feeding directly into gender norms and socialization that have been popularly referred to as toxic masculinity. The provision aspect isn't labeled as toxic as regularly as other aspects of masculinity are, such as leadership. The part that men work themselves to death to provide for their families isn't as toxic as men expecting anything from women, including love and support, which gets men labeled sassy these days.